And our first panel to kick off the Gun Owners Advocacy and Leadership Summit 2024 here in Knoxville, Tennessee, is the 2A Action Alliance. Some of you may be wondering exactly what the 2A Action Alliance is, and it's a group of individuals, myself included, that you may consider influencers. However, we do not use the Second Amendment just for cool gun videos, as fun as that may be, but we are willing to sign our names on letters to representatives in defense of the Second Amendment, like we did last year to a letter to the House leadership to take action on pistol braces, and I quote, urge that Congress reject the arbitrary and tyrannical ban on up to 40 million lawfully owned pistols by the Biden administration. So I'm fine being considered an influencer, as I and so many others are influencing our audience to exercise and defend our Second Amendment rights. Please welcome the 2A Action Alliance members, starting with none other than JohnnyB, who brings us the spiciest of freedom. Have a seat. We've got Jared Yanis, who brings you the premier Second Amendment news from Guns and Gadgets. We've got Mike, aka Mr. Mrgunsngear, who reminds us every Friday with his Freedom Friday post that we should absolutely repeal the National Firearms Act and Gun Control Act. We have Sean Herron from Welikeshooting. Another friend of mine, I'm happy to introduce Mike Mills of Tactical Considerations. The 2A Action Alliance panel is hosted by the one and only who brings us 60-second gun news, John Patton. Ladies and gentlemen, you have him for the next hour. I hope you brought some good questions to ask people that you most likely only see in front of a phone.
Check, check. Hey, hi guys. Good morning. How are y'all doing? Hey, I can't see. It looks like there's a microphone here in the center. In just a couple minutes, we're going to take questions from you guys, and we've got a pile of giveaways up here from Optics Planet. So if you ask a great question, you're going to get some of their new OpMod Ear Pro. Mr. Mrgunsngear is going to hold that up.
A new car.
Yeah, look at that. It's in a white box. You can't see what it is, but it's cool. So there's a microphone there. You can start lining up. Now, I'm sitting on stage next to some of my favorite people on the planet, and I hope that some of you would agree that these guys are fantastic. However, clap it up. Except Sean. How do you feel right now?
Nothing.
Wearing a Daniel Defense hat.
All right, whatever.
So I want to understand what these guys are dealing with right now, because in terms of the Second Amendment, these guys are on the bleeding edge, fighting as hard as we possibly can. What do you guys think is our biggest threat to the Second Amendment right now?
Well, we hear at every election that it's the most important of our lifetime, but this one actually is. We have a chance to actually win the Senate, and we don't have another chance to gain us a blue state to flip it red for until 2030. So if for anything, to gain control of the Senate is huge. We already know that Kamala Harris is terrible, but there's more that people need to understand that has a play in the political field with the Second Amendment for 6, 10, 12, 15 years. So you got to get out and vote.
I would say the biggest threat outside of what he just said, which is correct, is apathy. People just thinking it'll be okay, I don't have to worry about it, I don't have to get involved, when the reality is the opposite. Our enemies are active and they never stop.
The gun tubers are going to save us all.
God help us.
Go ahead, Johnny.
I think the biggest threat, or one of them, one slice to the pie, is that people aren't shooting today. The average hunter in Tennessee is in his mid-50s, and it's a he. And kids aren't shooting today. They're playing video games and doing whatever it is that kids do, and that's just a reality. And another generation of shooters, and it's not just about hunting, but hunting for a lot of folks, including me growing up, was a gateway drug to what we're doing here. So I think one slice of the pie is kids aren't shooting.
But also don't forget aliens, big, huge threat to the Second Amendment.
What kind of aliens?
Space aliens.
Space aliens. Where do they come from specifically?
I just said space.
All right, hey, look, we got some questions here. I'm really glad that you guys came out this morning to hang out with us. This is going to be a boatload of fun. If you want to step up to that mic, make sure you get nice and close to the microphone. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi, my name is Manuela. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. My first question is, why isn't there a woman on that panel?
Oh, that's very simple.
Did you just assume my gender?
There are a lot of women who shoot, and I just did a quick count, and there's about 50 women in this room alone.
So first of all, that right there, the fact that there are that many women in this room is absolutely amazing. That has increased. Yeah, that's fantastic. I personally think that is one of the biggest challenges when it comes to gun content creators, which we all are. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of huge female voices currently.
But
I think that has started growing, and it's one of those things that we need to encourage and try and foster as best we can. Would you guys agree?
The great thing is so many panels and so many things going on this weekend, and there's so many powerful female voices on all those. You just pick the one that there's not a bunch on.
I like the women who especially live here, well, all over. Armed Women of America is a fantastic group for women to be a part of. And here in Knoxville, on the first Monday of the month, we have the Well-Armed Women meeting over here off of Level Road at the range. And we have some fantastic women just there. I understand that you guys don't control who comes on the panel, but those 2 seats should be a woman. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. Would you like some ear pro? Heck yeah. Your mic's not on. Check. Sean. Mic 3.
We did have one woman, but he didn't show up.
All right, let's take another question. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, my name is Steve Mead. I'm from Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Originally came from Michigan and spent a bunch of time in the Navy and worked around here for the last 30 years. But anyhow, the question I have is really kind of Tennessee specific, but it also applies to anybody that happens to visit this state. The state a couple of years ago passed a constitutional carry law. And I was very much in favor of having a constitutional carry law, but I didn't like the way that it turned out. And here's why. It only applies to handguns. It only applies to Tennessee residents. It only applies if you're not someplace where the gun is otherwise unlawful.
I'm sorry, do you have a question?
Okay. And I just got to tell you what the background is so you can comment on it. So the problem that I'm trying to get addressed, and you guys have done some help, but as I read some of your literature, I read it from the other major gun organizations and stuff, they all talk about constitutional carry in Tennessee. It does not apply in state, local, or federal lands, parks, recreation areas. It doesn't apply in about 70% of the state. It does not apply because Tennessee has a law making it illegal to carry, except if you have an accepted handgun carry permit, in parks.
Yeah, so I want to try and make sure that all the people behind you get a chance to ask their questions too.
And so my question is GOA going to straighten it out in their literature and in their stuff? And when you try to work with the other organizations to make sure that people understand that, and it's not just Tennessee, other states have constitutional carry laws that have very, very, very deep, widespread restrictions on that right.
So you're
people need to
essentially
understand.
I'm sorry to cut you off again. I just want to try and tighten it up. You're essentially frustrated that the laws are there but restricted. Is that accurate?
The law is.
Yeah, go ahead, Jared.
It's misrepresented in most of the literature, including going on to people's websites to ask what the laws are in Tennessee. If you go to the state police website in Tennessee, it'll just tell you, oh yeah, we have constitutional carry applies to citizens that are over 21. Da, da, da.
I think I got what you need though on that. So Tennessee Firearms Association and Gun Owners of America put forth
John Harris. I know him
some
well.
bills this past session to address that issue, because constitutional carry in Tennessee is not really constitutional carry. But the problem is the folks in the Capitol killed those bills. So we are trying. In fact, I went up to the Capitol to lobby for those bills. But unless we get a strong voter base to let their representatives know what they want, it's easy for the rhinos to make things disappear. And this might shock you as a Tennessee resident. I live here now. There's 311,000 plus gun owners who are not even registered to vote in Tennessee alone. If we change that, this stuff changes instantly because we have a bigger voice. So get involved, vote, let your representatives and state senators know what you want, and when they're asking for people to make phone calls, help them out, because that's the only way we're going to do is with pressure.
Yeah,
My
get
real
involved.
reason for coming up was to hope to get a little bit of help, letting people, because when people find out what the law is, then they're opposed to it. Otherwise, I think everything's just fine. And the word's just not getting out that there really is not constitutional carry in Tennessee. Really.
We know, yeah.
Sure, yeah. Would you like some ear pro? Come on up and get some ear pro. Thank you so much, man. We appreciate you. I really, like, you guys lining up and participating in this is absolutely fantastic. I mean, we love you all, so thank you so much. What's your question, brother?
Hi, Travis. I'm from California. If you didn't hear that, California.
Start over.
I'm Travis from California.
Hi, Travis.
So, Mug Club member too, by the way. My question is a simple but loaded one, and that is, what is the most important thing to do behind enemy lines to really start fixing these problems at a local level?
Okay, so I think that is a simple and a complicated answer at the same time. The simple version of that is to get involved, because no one can fight for you like you can fight for yourself, right? It is very complicated because you have an absolute mountain of nonsense to defeat. So it starts, one of my favorite phrases on the planet is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yep.
Anybody else?
It's. I used to live behind enemy lines in Massachusetts. It takes, like I said in the prior question, we have to be involved. We can't think that a GOA is going to fly in and save the day. Mm-hmm. They're limited in what they can do, but the populace who live there day in and day out, we have more power than we know. The problem is most of us work, right? We don't get to go travel to the Capitol all the time, but that's what it takes. Sometimes we might have to take a day off to go and meet with our reps and senators. They all have office hours in the district. Make a point to go sit down and have a coffee with them and start getting that relationship, because that's how you build a rapport. And then when you do call, they will help your opinion make it to the floor for a vote. So it takes us, like, we have the power, we the people. It's the biggest words on the document for a reason. But so many of us have so much going on, we don't get involved like we used to, and we have to, because the left pays people to go in there and rally. The Moms Demand Actions shirts, they're all bussed in. We have to fight that. And unless we actually get up and do it, we're behind the 8 ball.
Absolutely. I could not have said that better.
And then just like a real world example. So I interned for a senator a long time ago. It was 20 years ago, like when email was new. But they absolutely categorize people by voters, infrequent voters, and then non-voters. So when you send a email, call, whatever, you get put in one of those boxes. And honestly, people don't look at the non-voter boxes. The staff doesn't. So it's important that you vote, because if not, your voice doesn't have the power it otherwise would.
It's unfortunate, but true. Yeah. Great question, man. Thank you so much. There is a box of Ear Pro here if you want to come up and grab some. Thank you, Mike. Well, clap it up. That's a great question. I think people showing initiative and even asking that question is a step in the right direction, because there are a lot of people that are not asking how. They're not asking in ways that will move things forward for all of us, right? What's your question, man?
Jason from Knoxville. My question is...
Get close to that mic, please.
I think the problem a lot with our nation is the news media and the propaganda that they do. So my question is, as a people, what can we do to use the rules, regulations, and policies of the FCC to actually go and combat the news media for the lies that they are doing?
That's a good question.
So that's a tough one. The FCC is an executive level agency, right? So obviously having someone in there who would be more friendly to what we think would be good. Congress has oversight, of course, but it is very tough. That is a difficult question that literally everyone up here deals with almost daily because we're all FCC regulated,
Right.
unfortunately.
But couldn't we use the rules, regulations, and policies they have already set within the FCC rules? I mean, there's a section in there just for the news that they have to follow.
Well, the challenge there is that requires someone in the organization over there to actually have accountability. I mean, we've seen it with the ATF over and over and over again. Like, they have broken the law multiple times over, but there is no recourse.
Right, but
I don't know why. I couldn't tell you exactly why there is no recourse, but it does happen. I think your idea makes sense, but in practice, it may not actually work, because if no one holds them accountable.
what if we hold them accountable because we're the ones who are allowed to
Yes.
actually
Sure.
create a complaint against whoever?
And that, what you just said is key. You know, doing what we do, we always hear, like, how come nobody's helping over here in California? How come nobody's helping here in Texas? Any organization that is willing to sue the government needs one key thing, and that's a plaintiff. They need individuals like us, citizens, who are willing to put their name on the lawsuit and go to court and be deposed and give them the information where that law is hurting you, that they can go after the government for that violation. More people need to get involved. So if you're interested, you need to figure out what group sues the FCC regularly, make contact with them and say, hey, listen, this I don't agree with, it violates my rights in this way, and I'm willing to be a plaintiff. And that's the first big step on these lawsuits.
Hey, Johnny, have you gotten your recent shipments of tar and feathers in?
No, but I do support the tarring and feathering of all politicians. In theory, it's just a joke. We're not serious, but tars and feathers make them great again.
Somebody's phone in the room heard that. Thank you so much, man. Come get some Ear Pro. We really appreciate you guys. Are you guys having a good time? Listen, I know it's early. I need more effort than that. Are you having a good time? There we go. There we go. That's great. That's great. All right, what's your question?
Well, first off, you people.
Oh, no.
People.
Secondly, what mayonnaise do you have in your refrigerator?
All right, here's the deal.
I'm sorry. I tried the Dukes. It's got to be Hellman's and Dukes in our refrigerator.
It's
But-
definitely Dukes, right?
Did you hear that
Is that
gasp?
the correct answer?
Here's the deal, people. We're in the South, and when we deal with mayonnaise, it is personal and serious. And you might not even get a set of Ear Pro up here after that. I don't know. Maybe. Hellman's is an option. I grew up on Hellman's, but the You People Army turned me on to Dukes, and now I am Dukes for life.
You know, there's a lot of things I thought we were going to talk about today, but mayonnaise is not one of them.
Anyone out there in the Miracle Whip gang?
Boo.
Okay. All right.
All
Get
right.
out of here, Colorado. Thank you.
Okay. So now for a serious question. Being the proud wife of a police officer who has done extraordinary things for our community back in Indiana, with the kids and just community, not just policing, but then also at the gun ranges and education. But my question is for Jared. My husband would like to know, when did you know it was time to get out of law enforcement and start kind of venturing into something else?
That's a good question. Honestly, the Obama administration, when he decided to have the sit down over a beer because cops did their job responding to somebody who was breaking into a house, That changed law enforcement for the country. And I was forced out. I destroyed my back on a call, had some surgery, and I couldn't get cleared to go back again because I risk serious injury, so they forced retired me. But things changed drastically in the law enforcement world the day that beer summit happened.
That's a great question. Why don't you come up? What's that?
Definitely get ear pro now.
Oh, yeah. The mayonnaise question is the one that sealed it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, one more thing.
I told you to stay outside.
This one fits
I have no idea what she said.
I have two, but this one fits.
Thank you. All right. What's your question, brother?
How do you all feel about qualified immunity and the road pirates taking your gun and dismantling it during traffic stops?
So my opinion has changed over the years on this dramatically. I absolutely oppose qualified immunity now. Years ago, I supported it, but now just seeing how far it has been, rather how much it's been abused, I simply can't support it anymore. And to your point about essentially stealing people's property, that wouldn't happen if qualified immunity was removed. Additionally, a lot of the just basic civil rights abuses that we see happening, typically by undertrained people in a position they shouldn't be in, wouldn't happen as well if those people could be held individually responsible. So again, if you asked me that question 5-10 years ago, I would have given you a different answer, but the problem has grown exponentially in my opinion.
I agree with Mike. I've moved that way as well. I've done a lot of things in my career with SWAT that qualified immunity would actually, protect people. You're going into people's houses like apex predators where nobody wants to deal with that person. If you were held liable for the door you had to break down to get the person, it's a different world. But it's been used in different ways now. Like we all know, we're all aware of it, where people's rights are being violated. And I've seen a couple lawsuits recently where qualified immunity has been removed on cases where people are grossly abusing their police power, and I think that needs to happen more often because when you hit people in the wallet, things change, especially if it's on an individual level.
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you so much, man.
Can I ask Johnny a question?
Let's keep it tight. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, real quick. My wife sent you a box of Cheerios pumpkin spice. How were they?
Yeah,
If
your
you
wife
ate
sent
those,
me a
I'm gonna be
box of
disappointed.
pumpkin spice Cheerios. Here's the deal. Number one, they're talking about qualified immunity, the Constitution, and getting involved, and I get Cheerios and mayonnaise questions. I love today so much. The pumpkin spice Cheerios, I'm going to give it a, but give her a big thank you from me. Thank you so much.
There
Thank you
she
for the
is.
Cheerios.
The Cheerios. That sounds horrific.
What about Cheerios and mayonnaise? If you got some, I'll eat it right now.
Somebody make that happen. Somebody make that happen. All right, what's your question?
Hi, I'm Hannah. I grew up in the junior competitive shooting world, and my question is, I know you guys were talking about how it's really hard to get shooters into the competitive stage like the juniors. So what would your guys' advice be on getting junior shooters into the thing?
Take a kid to the range. I think that's the most simple answer. Shooting is so much fun. I think people just don't take kids to the range as much as they used to, so it has dropped off drastically. I don't have any kids, but I plan to take my niece and nephew out as soon as I possibly can because of that.
Yeah, that's the key thing. You got to get parents in the room. Raise your hands if you have children. All right? Drop your hands if you don't take them to the range regularly. That's the problem.
There you go.
It's on us.
Yeah, great question. Great question. Come up and get some ear pro.
Awesome, thank you.
Additionally, I just want to say there's a lot of state organizations and local organizations rather for shooting competitions, right?
Yeah,
and a lot of
Appleseed
them
is
have
one.
a very low barrier to entry, so it's like
Oh, yeah.
$5-10 a lot of times, so it's not hard to do.
I mean, my club specifically will provide the ammo, provide the rifles, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
it's out there. It's just got to get used as a service.
Right. In North Carolina, for example, there's a firearms rights group that will do the same thing. Yeah. They'll sponsor youth shooters to compete.
All right. What's your question, brother?
Matthew Martin from Elizabethton, Tennessee.
How did you pronounce that?
Elizabethton.
Elizabethan.
Elizabethton. About
Elizabeth-
6 miles
Elizabethton.
from me.
All right.
Yep. So, in case you didn't know, Hellman's now has a cologne. Duke's has fallen behind.
This is important information.
Very important. I guess I'll piggyback on what she was saying and kind of what you guys had answered. When you're going to debate, say, Gen Z, I don't see many of them in here amongst us. How do we convince them that the Second Amendment is just as or more important than the First? Because as we know, they practice the First like nobody's business. So how do we debate them on the Second respectfully without getting into a confrontation about who's right and who's wrong?
This is a tough one because we've all been fighting this on our side, on the social media side, because Gen Z, they're not going to Facebook, they're not going to Instagram, they're on TikTok and stuff like that.
Where we have a hard time getting our message out.
I've been banned, literally banned, and have my channel removed 6 times on TikTok, to the point where is it worth it? Because no matter what I do to educate people, they're going to strike it down or restrict it. And we need to be making more of an effort to meet them in the common ground. And the common ground is TikTok and stuff like that, because the people who want to take our guns are on there left and right, feeding them that information.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have we're behind the 8 ball. The powers that be don't want us on those platforms, but we all need to do more, myself included, need to do more on that platform. But if you're going to be talking to one, to someone of a young age, find some common ground, period. Like, hey man, nobody wants to go out and get shot today.
Mm-hmm.
Getting shot is cap.
Yeah, it's cap.
For real.
There's no riz in getting shot.
Yeah.
But you got to say, wouldn't it be cool if you could be a savior to somebody, if somebody came in here and you could stop it?
Mm-hmm.
You could stop these people from getting hurt, and that's what we do as gun owners. You got to kind of get them on the common ground first.
I have an individual in my life who the light bulb went off when I explained to her that it takes in our city 14 minutes for the cops to come. And she has mentioned that to me 50 times since then. She said, "Bing, I'm going to take things into my own hands." That was a moment for her, I think, of light bulb.
Jared, your TikTok getting banned is probably my fault because I just don't really like your dancing.
Wow. So, Sean, you've got some younger folks in your life. Like, what do you do to have those conversations?
I don't talk to those idiots.
All right, great question. Come up and get some ear pro. This is great. I absolutely love the fact that you guys give a crap and come out here. How many of you were here in the room for the Kash Patel speech?
No problem.
Yeah, what a great guy. We met him last night. Awesome guy and incredibly intelligent. Let's give a big round of applause for Kash Patel. Yeah, absolutely. What's your question, brother?
What's up, guys? Trevor Pudge TV on Rumble, at Uncle Pudge on Twitter. And
self-promotion.
Hey,
Send
I'm just saying. Well, it's important because my question is around community, and you guys have kind of touched on it a little bit today, talking about the apathy of the general population, and getting your kids involved. But as content creators, how are you guys investing in your communities and encouraging them to speak out, especially on the social media platforms that we are regularly throttled and regulated on?
So when you say community, do you mean like the local community or like the internet community?
Your online communities,
okay.
As you guys are invested in those.
So I think one of the things that all of us really, really try to focus on is just being a regular person, and not speaking to people from a tower like we know better or something like that. All of us up here are just regular dudes that happen to have a little bit of a voice. And I think as long as we continue doing that and sharing the message and just growing that camaraderie, like we'll stand here afterwards. Any of you that want a selfie or a handshake or whatever, we'll stand here and talk to you guys as long as we possibly can. And that's how we grow community. Just building relationships is how I built my career. And I like to think that that is how we continue to grow the Second Amendment community.
At guns _ at gadgets.com thing.
Mine is actually Garand Thumb.
Yeah. The biggest thing I have found is just to be honest and have integrity. And if you don't violate that, then your community will grow because they can depend on you with the information you're giving them. So just be yourself and be honest. Don't sell out your own personal integrity for something because you can never get it back.
And
Boom.
John, talking about being honest, you already lied on stage. You said,
What did I say?
You said JohnnyB was a regular person.
Wait, hold on. You have to give evidence of such things. Go.
How are you guys, and sorry, just one more follow-up. How are you guys encouraging people to not be apathetic and be louder on social media? A lot of the people, especially the older generations, and as somebody kind of in the middle, I see this, the older generations, even my generation, we poo-poo on social media and we're like, Twitter, Rumble, YouTube, just be a real person. But the world exists on the internet, and how do you encourage people that are apathetic like that to create content and be louder about all of these things?
I'm gonna take that one and then we'll roll.
Yep.
Those people will continue to be apathetic until they get out of their own way. All we can do is continue to encourage the people that are not apathetic and that do want to participate and build them stronger, and hopefully the message just spreads organically, because talking to a wall is never going to work. Thank you so much. Grab some ear pro, brother. Appreciate that.
I followed you on Twitter.
Did you really? Yeah. That's awesome. Hey, new follower. All right, what's up, brother? What's your question?
All right, Phil Hudson, Crystal River, Florida. So the NFA is like this cornerstone of the giant monolithic wall. Is Bruin and Heller, are those cracks that the wedge is getting shoved in and that's going to fall down? Because I'm Gen X and I've wanted a machine gun since I was this big, but the older I get and the more money I make, the more expensive machine guns get. So
it's funny how that works.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, Bruin was the big one.
I mean, specifically the historical analog, because the NFA has no historical analog, and how is that going to stand?
Yeah, just like John said earlier, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? There's been bills submitted, and the tough part is right now conservatives don't have control of the Senate. So regardless of what the House passes, it doesn't stand a chance right now, which is another reason why November is huge for us in the Second Amendment community. You're never going to get a single judge or a panel of judges or even an en banc panel in a circuit court to say, you know what, the NFA's gone today. They'll never, ever do that. The only way we get it is one step at a time. Suppressors, you can get one approved in 4 hours. My last one I got approved in 4 hours. If a pistol-braced firearm is not dangerous and there's 20 million of them, then why is a short-barreled rifle? Because according to the ATF, they're really similar. Those are the things that we attack based off of Bruin, and we start winning those, and before you know it, there is no NFA.
That would be amazing. Thank you so much, brother.
So you're
Come get
saying
yourself
there's a
some ear, bro.
chance?
There's a chance, but it will be one by one. I agree.
So
with
you're
Jared on
saying there's a chance?
Yes, please.
Hold on. I just want everybody in the room to appreciate your beard.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
It kind of grows on me.
That's good. You've heard that before, huh? What's your question?
Would Gun Owners of America and other organizations that operate with you in conjunction with you be willing to support a constitutional amendment for constitutional carry to override the local and state laws that prohibit gun control, ownership, and carrying in various places without that historical analog?
I think that's complicated. That becomes a states' rights issue at its core. I'm sure GOA could support that if the language was correct and if it was the right way to handle it. But I do think, federal law trumping state law and all these sorts of things gets real complicated real fast. Anybody want to add to that?
Constitutional amendment would take care of it, and
Well, we have the Second Amendment on the Constitution right now, and some of the states are just openly disrespecting that.
Yeah, but
so it's a constant fight. I definitely hear what you're saying, though.
Well,
states can call a constitutional, a convention to recommend amendments to the Constitution. Every state gets one vote. Whatever comes out of that convention goes to the 50 states. It requires 3/4 to approve it, ratify it, and we have over 27 states that supposedly have constitutional carry. I think there's a good chance with some effort supporting it, it could be done. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's get you some ear pro. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate you guys running back and forth. That's great. You guys are good friends. I appreciate you. We've got another question. What's your name, man?
Hey, how's it going? I'm Greg from a refugee from Maryland.
Make sure you get real close to that microphone.
Is that good?
Wait a second. Perfect shirt. Thank you very much.
Is that one of yours?
I thought it would be appropriate for the day. I'm a refugee from Maryland. I'm a resident of Chattanooga. Name's Greg. Everybody on that stage right now has been directly impacted by the now new mass media, which is YouTube, is outpacing the cable channels, the public channels, the newspapers, and whatever else have you. I'm kind of curious about what is your alternative and contingency and emergency plans for when YouTube ultimately does what it's already doing? Because I know you've all been dinged within the last couple of weeks for their new policy changes and whatever else have you. And you already mentioned TikTok and all these other features that are already dinging and the culture not being there. And everybody's talking about the communications issues here and getting out and reaching people. So do we come to a point where something like an the foundations and the producers of firearms could get together and create an alternative media resource? Or does GOA or somebody like that create that platform that doesn't get censored? Because if you remember when Truth and all those came up, they were using Amazon's web server system, which they just turned off. That's a big lift, but that's something that I'm seeing that is
So the core of the question is, why aren't people making an alternative platform? Is that correct?
Not why, but where, and does that something that we should be all focusing on that have the means and the motive to do so?
Sean, why don't you kick that off?
YouTube has a 20-year head start.
Yes.
Billions of dollars, hundreds, thousands of people working on it every single day. So the amount of money to create something like that from scratch is just absolutely outrageous. The amount of money, technological know-how, and everything that goes along with that. And I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm saying that to compete, it would be very difficult. So what we really need is the audience, right? The reason that YouTube is powerful is because of the audience, because people watch it all day, every day. And when the audience goes to other places, the people bring the power. And I think that we see that. A lot of people constantly are saying, you know, why don't you post on Rumble? And all of us say, well, we've been posting on Rumble for several years now. There's just not the people there that need to be there. So for a real impact, I mean, there are platforms out there that exist right now that are pretty dang good. And, you know, if we spend all day on YouTube, but we don't go over to Rumble, then we are not supporting the new services that are coming up. They exist. We just need to go there, and we need to make a concerted effort to do our job.
And along that same line, that's what I'm talking about. Is there a
Brother, we only have a few minutes left, and we can only do the one. Sorry.
Right,
You get. Let's talk afterwards. Make sure you get some ear pro. Is there more in that box? Okay. We've got a few more. Shout out to Optics Planet for supporting this. Let's give them a big round of applause. That's great. Making sure you guys get some cool stuff. Hey, we are running low on time, so I don't think we will be able to get through every single one of you. We're going to try. Let's keep it to just the question and make it as fast and as short as you possibly can. I want to make sure everybody gets a chance.
So with the advent of 3D printing, is gun control even, like, really enforceable at this point?
No.
All right,
Didn't
great
really
question.
think so.
Come up, get some ear pro.
Hey, who in here 3D prints guns?
We need to, these are rookie numbers. We need to change this.
It's getting much easier, and you know the Bamboo Lab X1C, fantastic printer.
So good.
Like, yeah, I've sold all my friends on them.
Yeah, he made me buy one, and now I'm like, oh, I get it now. I'm gonna print a machine gun. I'm kidding. What's your question?
So, oh my bad. So
Thank
I don't
you, guys.
3D print guns, but I'm a machinist and I machine them. How do I further articulate to my fellow generation of Gen Z how we're going to further kill gun control, because I believe it is unenforceable, but it is very hard to convince one of my friends to buy an 80% lower and start milling. So how do I get that first step in? Because once they're in, I think we're going to see massive success with Gen Z. There's a lot of gun fans in my generation, but they're so heavily influenced by the news media that you start talking about 3D printing guns or machining your own guns, they immediately think it's some big crime, it's illegal,
Sure,
it's a problem, right?
So I think the challenge for a lot of people in general, just communicating, is that when we often talk to each other like that's the same person as us. So I think understanding that they're different people and finding some kind of way that something that gets them excited about guns is step one. And then we just continue that and grow that and foster that. Because the people you said, how do you convince them to machine guns? Maybe they don't care. And expecting someone to care about exactly what you care about is unfair to them. So understanding that people are individuals and we want to encourage them to be individuals and independent, I think it's just a matter of taking them to the range, showing them how awesome it is, and then fostering that as it goes. Yeah, that's a great question.
Show them your cool guns. Like that's the best way.
Yeah.
Every day I make sure they know about it.
Absolutely. Awesome.
Thank you so much. Come up and get some ear pro. Thank you so much. Go ahead, brother. Let's keep it tight.
How are you? It's Scott from New York. Hey, Jared.
Hey, it's Scott.
How are you guys? While I absolutely hate the concept and the idea of gun permits in general, do you think there's any chance of getting a national reciprocity? And if there is, do you think having greater exposure in those deep blue, terrible states like mine to people who have guns and are responsible with them to start to influence this wave of anti-gun thought?
Yes. Permits are illegal and unconstitutional. I had a conversation with an attorney days ago, and you might see a lawsuit challenging that very shortly, maybe, perhaps.
I actually don't think it's possible, because what we've seen over the last 10 plus years is that when a federal law or ruling supporting the Second Amendment, whatever way, happens, the states that we all know, New York, California, et cetera, they immediately just write a new law, and that takes 3 to 5 years to go through the court system and get thrown out. I truly don't think national reciprocity will ever practically happen. It may be passed or something like that, but the practical reality for people behind enemy lines, I don't think it's going to happen.
That's great. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that question. Make sure you get some ear pro. We appreciate that. Sure, clap that up. That's a great question, guys. What is your question, sir?
I'm Horace from Indiana, gunsmith. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to
Are you
keep
really
their
just going to
arms
say this to us?
shall not be infringed. My question is, how is it that we have lost the definition of the meaning of infringed? And this one is specifically for John. If he can handle questions on Cheerios and mayonnaise, surely he can help us understand what happened to infringed.
I love, number one, that John Patton just interrupted the Second Amendment. I love that. Like he's halfway through and you just start talking. I love it. Yeah, I like it. I think, like to what Mike just said a minute ago, state by state, behind enemy lines, it's a mess. There are other states where it's not infringed. In some ways, if you have to have a driver's license, to Jared's point about having to have a license being illegal, we're already being infringed on, and I don't know if that's ever going to back up. I really don't know. I think the laws are so entrenched today that we're fighting for little crumbs and pieces rather than what you're saying, infringed. And the answer is, I don't know.
Would you say that infringement is in common use? Got him. Great question. Come up and get some ear pro. Thank you so much, man. All right. We're running short on time. Let's keep it rolling.
So my name is Nico.
Get close to that mic, please.
Better?
Yeah.
My name is Nico, originally from Connecticut, now living in Florida. I am obviously Gen Z. A lot of my generation is staunchly anti-gun. They don't like using guns, talking about it, holding it. What would be good ideas or suggestions that you guys have to kind of start that conversation with them so they kind of come more towards like maybe not being pro-gun, but kind of in the middle? And then also getting them involved to be more in line with the Second Amendment and our constitutional rights.
I believe every single individual, you meet them where they're at. You take the ones that like to do and go and do stuff, take them to play airsoft. It is a gateway drug towards machine guns. The nerds that like being in the basement, let them play Call of Duty and then start talking. These are real guns. These are actually real guns here. There's a gateway drug for every individual. I believe there is something that got you into it, and I think with your friends and the people that you're around, find the gateway drug for each of them. Guns are freaking cool.
Thank you.
Additionally, there's a lot of different social media channels and things like that run by young people who are pro-gun, so share that content with them. Tends to resonate better than someone like me, or especially Sean.
Also, you could totally start your own YouTube channel, TikTok, whatever about guns. That's highly encouraged. Okay, what's your question?
Well, my question was about national reciprocity as well, but I do have another question about shadow bans on like Facebook. Anytime it's anything like political or
Make sure you stay close to that microphone.
anytime it's political or gun related, I just get shadow banned, and it's hard to share stuff on social media platforms.
So I'm not the only one.
No, indeed.
Yeah, they hate us, bro. Like, when we're playing in their backyard, they control their property, and that's just the way it is. But know that, and either play within the rules creatively, or find another platform that gives you more freedom. Like, if you're in the Second Amendment community and you're not on X right now, you are doing yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
X is about as good as it gets right now.
It is.
Yeah, the horrendous things that the guy that owns X is saying to every government, like, that is amazing. Great question. Come up and get some ear pro.
So, two things that I've learned today: sign up for X and Rumble.
Yes, sir.
There you go.
Yes, sir. Thank you. All right. What's your question?
First off, thank you for being here.
Thank you for being
supporting
here.
us. And
This doesn't
everything.
matter without you guys.
Yes. But you guys are great. I'm a big fan of all y'all's channels. I think you're doing great. My question is YouTube. I mean, are y'all really worried about YouTube, canceling you? I'd hate to see any of you go, especially with the cost of everything. Everything costs now.
Sure. I will take that. Yes, all of us for the last 10 years. We're terrified of it.
We get pulled off YouTube every week. Every week.
Mike is setting the record for how many times he's been banned.
Correct, and my channel was deleted for 4 months last year. So yes, I'm very aware of it and making plans.
Yeah, we're all trying to figure out the alternate solution. That's a great question, though. Come up, make sure you get the. How many we got left over there? I can't see. There's 3 left. All right, we're going to try and knock them out. What's your question? Go as fast as you can.
Brian Malinowski, what position does GOA have on getting justice for him, and what are the panelists' thoughts on getting that exposed and finding out what really happened?
That is a very complicated question. That's an after the event kind of question. I don't think any of us officially speak for GOA, so I don't think it's fair for us to weigh in on that and what their stance is. But we'll make sure you get with some of us afterwards, and we'll try and get that. Make sure you get this ear pro for that. That's a good question. We just don't have the time to make it give you a good answer.
Yeah, and it was a travesty, by the way.
But they murdered him.
Yeah, they absolutely
100%.
did. Absolutely. And I don't want to speak out of turn, but thank you so much. What's your question? This is going to be our last one, guys. Sorry to you guys standing in line.
Given growing enthusiasm for NFA items, especially suppressors, I have noticed that in recent times, ATF has changed their process to speed up the approval of suppressors. Do you guys view that as a victory? Because I do. It feels like they're falling back one defensive line to maintain normalization of the NFA.
I think the victory with that process is more of them being sold and the argument for common use becoming stronger literally every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know that the process becoming faster is a win, but the fact that more and more people are willing to buy them now that it's faster absolutely is.
Awesome. That's a great question. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, that is our last question. However, I'm going to make sure all these guys get an opportunity to say anything. Johnny, is there one thing that you want to say before we get off this stage?
Duke's mayonnaise for life.
Bring it back to mayonnaise. I'm proud of you. Look at me. Look at me. I'm proud of you. Jared.
I want to thank everybody for coming. I know it takes time and effort to get here, especially with people coming across the country. Thank you to GOA for coming to Tennessee, and hopefully they never leave.
All right. Mike?
Yep. Just again, like John said earlier, nothing we do is possible without all of you, so I appreciate everybody showing up.
Yep.
3D print guns to fight aliens.
And behalf of all these guys, again, I just want to say thank you all for giving a crap and being here this morning. We really genuinely appreciate you all. We're going to try to hang out for just a couple minutes afterwards, shake hands, hang out. As always, thank you all. We'll see you soon.
Over to Clint.